Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
I'm well, thanks.
Yeah, it's good to be in studio. I was out for a week hunting with Ben.
I was just say, it feels like it's been forever.
It does. It's only 6-7 days, but got to hook up with cousin Ben and march through the woods and find elk and chase elk. We had a great hunt. And today's podcast is about the gear that we used and that we took on that hunt. It's just a quick gear dump from, my actual backpack, what I brought, how much it weighed, all those details. And then part one is going to be the food that we took actually. And part two is going to be the backpack gear. So there's going to be two parts. So Brent will get the food out right away. And we've been doing a lot of homemade stuff. Ryan Lampers, Stealthy Hunter, Hunt and Harvest Health. I've stolen a lot of ideas from him and then put my own tweaks on the recipes. My wife has been incredible this year because she's so frugal and cheap that she doesn't want me to spend money on Heather's Choice, even though I have some of that as well. Honestly, she doesn't want to see me spend too much money because backpacking food can get expensive. And there's really no reason that you have to buy it if you have prep time. Mm-hmm. Although I like to mix it up. I like to have a little bit of the stuff I bought and then a lot of homemade stuff as well. When it comes to breakfast, it's really tough to beat Ryan's Mountain Mush, my style, which is taking all the things out of his recipe that I don't like and putting all the things in that I like personally. So anyway, it's a good episode. It should be pretty quick. For those that are listening to the podcast, you might want to go and watch this one because it's highly visual. We're showing the gear on the table here in studio in my hands, and you can get visuals of it. Some of it you're going to see set up outside, like with Ben and I out hunting. On the hunt itself, man, early season is always tough for elk. We didn't have time to scout the area before we got there.
This is a brand new area.
This is in Idaho, and Ben and I cruised up there, and man, we were into elk almost every day. It was not easy. They weren't talking much. All the bulls were in bachelor kind of groups, while the cows we saw like 150 cows in a herd just all hanging out by themselves. Then, 3-4 days in, they started to talk a little bit here and there, and you could just feel the rut like progressing each day. We got within 15 yards of big bulls and with our bows, but it was really thick. Like some of the thickest country we've hunted, like Oregon Coast, kind of thick. Had a hard time getting shots to go our way through the trees there. Just couldn't get clear shots. Ben decided to live the hinge life, even though I told him not to. He had a little target panic for the past year and a half or so, and he loves how he just groups super tight with the hinge release on those targets. But I found the same thing. I mean, I didn't have the kind of trigger panic that Ben has had, but I definitely felt my groups tighten, and I felt really, really comfortable behind the hinge, shooting my bow, grouping really well, kind of effortlessly. And I wasn't experiencing that with the trigger. But after shooting the hinge for a couple of years, I mean, man, it really helped me just allow that pin to just float, kind of sit there, accept that it's going to move a little bit. Don't try to time it and force it and just be surprised when the shot goes off. Well, now I hunt with the Nock To It, the thumb button trigger, and man, I haven't missed yet. I haven't had a problem with that on live game, where with the hinge I had a hard time getting it to go off, had a lot of anxiety when the adrenaline was high and the stakes were high, or when it was windy. The hinge was 2 years of struggle. It either was awesome and I smoked an animal, or I couldn't get it to go off and the shot was way wide, So it's been great hunting with a trigger. So I told Ben, don't do it. I don't care how comfortable or how awesome you are in a shooting environment. When you go out in the woods and it's a live animal,
sometimes you got to punch it.
I just like that. Lampers and I have had this discussion many times. He will never use a hinge, and he kills a lot of animals. And I mean, that's not fair. I mean, a lot of guys kill with a hinge too. I wouldn't say a lot. There are guys who kill with a hinge too.
There are guys that pull it off.
It's not for me. I just find that in the moment, like, I'm great. I just think it does. It really is great for practice situation.
Yeah, I haven't jumped over to the hinge life.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I ever will.
Oh, I think it's an excellent tool. Like I shoot with the hinge probably 80-90% of the time, and then I hunt with the trigger. A lot of guys do it that way for good reason. Just, I don't have a lot of bad habits shooting with the hinge.
Target panic ever becomes an issue, I'll think about it.
I think the longer a guy shoots a bow, the more he can gravitate toward having some form or degree of target panic.
That's so bizarre to me. You would think it would be the opposite.
It's not. So for those that are listening to the intros, by the way, or watching the podcast, if you're not interested in what we're talking about, Brent and I are talking about with each show, and you want to just get straight to the show, Brent always puts the minute marker in the description field on the YouTube video. You can skip ahead. And also it's when you download it from iTunes, in the notes section, it says all the minute markers of where parts of the show happen, so you can skip ahead. I wanted to discuss, before we get into today's podcast, a couple of things. One was we got some recent comments on YouTube, and I want to read some of them because we're 4 videos into the tahr hunt in New Zealand that we've published.
One more.
I'm quite proud of the work we've done. Same with the bear hunts I did with Lampers and Lusk. We're 4 videos. We did 4 videos for that. We did 4 for the tahr, and we have a 5th one for the tahr coming out this Sunday. We managed to get the tahr videos out every Sunday for 5 weeks in a row. I'm pretty proud of that.
That is a miracle all in its own. And some of those timestamps, if they say 11:58, it's technically still Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. I want to just read a couple of those. Matt the Cat, he said, I know you're not a bean counter, Brian, but this is the kind of stuff that's going to get you to that 100,000 mark. Simply awesome. Talking about followers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because if you get to that, you get a lot of privileges through YouTube, like someone who answers the phone. Our stuff gets constantly demonetized, and we got to go through this stupid text process and everything. So that'd be nice. I've had this comment many times. Why does Corey's mouth sound so wet when he talks? Is that why he can blow an elk call so well? I don't know. There's something about Corey with a microphone that has that sound the whole time.
I don't notice it when I'm just talking to him.
You just got to live with it. Our friend Brandon Gutierrez says, bro, you and Ryan went hard as blank. I have to say that was an intense watch. I found myself thinking, man, could I hack that? My hat's off to you guys. People can talk trash, but the two of you really got after it. Mad respect to you and Ryan. That was one hell of a grind. Thanks, Brandon. Luke McCreary said, this was hands down the best of the series so far. That was the latest video, which I believe was called Doing the Mahi, which was actually just the packing out. Like no animals were shot or hunted. It was just packing out. So that's
you have to see animals. Cool. They just after the fact.
Yeah. On to Hunt said, Brian, you keep that kind of hunting up, and you'll need to be running some ice axes in case you take a slide. 100%. Brian and I were undergeared for this hunt. We tried to be very careful, realizing what we had got ourselves into, and thankfully we were able to navigate it all safely. This guy writes on Corey Jacobson's recent podcast called When Is Enough Enough? He writes, I only hunt in flannel needs to be a t-shirt.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we were kind of, I don't know, talking about how the woke kind of folks who only hunt in flannel,
The hipster hunters.
Yeah. Great podcast, guys. I've been on a Gritty Bowman binge. I've noticed that over the years, as Brian's arms have gotten bigger, his shirts have gotten tighter.
It's cause and effect, yeah.
Yeah, I
mean, how it works.
I won't lie. I wear a good medium-sized shirt every now and then. Let's see. Truly epic, boys. Great ethics and respect for the country and animals that you are harvesting. I hope you boys come back for a fallow or red hunt. Plenty of critters around. Public land for miles, and you got the best out of it from Remy. You got the best info out from Remy. Definitely. This next episode, you'll all see kind of where the Remy information takes us and how that hunt finalizes. So there is the 5th part. A lot of people feel like the series is over.
It's not.
But it's not. I suppose it's because all the meat's in the hotel. But we still had a day to go hunt. So Ryan and I crammed another day in, and it was
You guys
epic.
went out, hunted, and then ended up getting to your... How much time did you have to spare getting to that airplane? Because you guys hiked all night.
We hiked all night, got to our car, drove all night. Then we got to the hotel. We butchered all night, didn't sleep, stayed up all night, got everything packed and ready to go with about 30 minutes to spare, loaded the car and got to the airport. Like I literally didn't sleep since the day before when we got out of bed and hunted. And then we were on a plane and I was like, whoa, that was nice. So
It's a long flight.
Yeah, it was. Respect, Guy. Thanks for coming to New Zealand and doing it right. Great video. Keep them coming. Another person wrote, another great video team. If I ever end up staying in a hotel room down with some funky old goat smell, I'll know where you were. Thanks, Sean. So yeah, there were a lot of great comments. They continue. I just want to thank everyone who's been watching all the YouTube videos and enjoying them. Southern Alps Hunter said, another top edit team. Stoked you guys are showing respect and using all of the animal that you harvest. All Kiwi hunters can learn from your set of ethics. It's a great valley that you were hunting in. Just a shame you didn't see any big old boys. Can't wait for the next upload. Keep them rolling in. So, I mean, these guys, this is just great. We had a lot of support on all sides for everyone who's watched it. We did have someone who voiced a concern. And we actually had this discussion, a debate about it. Chaku Peru, he said, very cool video, guys. The only comment I have is when you throw the tar down the mountain like a rag doll. That was very disrespectful to the animal. You didn't need to put that in the video. You have to keep in mind that kind of stuff is what haters look for and that give hunters a bad rep. I understand it was the fast way of getting the animal down the mountain, but next time cut it out of the video. Thanks. We actually discussed this. Is it
for days?
Well, and actually, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, it's been skinned or it's been gutted. We got to get the animal off the mountain. I'm going to slide it down. It was effective, practical, and that's how we did it. You know, I didn't pack it down the mountain. I slid it down the mountain, and I actually dragged it all the way to the river. There's just no video of it. Like 50 yards from our tent.
Going straight across the mountain, not down it though.
Right, which I did. I drug it all the way to the water to where I skinned it at the very bottom.
And you didn't throw it down per se like a ragdoll.
I slid it
and then it hit something and then ragdolled the
right. And so there were a few people who said, I don't like that.
A lot of people assumed we were just going to take it out. People said, you're taking that out, right?
A couple people did. I wouldn't say a lot. There was within our office there was like 7 guys. 2 people were squeamish about it, and the rest of us were like,
yeah.
There's nothing disrespectful here. And it's an interesting discussion because it's ironic because I watched a number of New Zealand hunting films with tar, and they chuck them down the mountain.
Yep.
I mean, they just chuck them down. I saw a ton of, they didn't think twice about it. And I think a lot of mountain in the snow. Keep in mind, this is all snow.
Yeah.
So rolling down in the snow, and then you pack your way down, and then you roll it some more. I mean, think about it. If you break that thing down, you got to put it inside your pack. Now you've got another 40 to 80 pounds on your back on steep, slick snow and ice. It's just it's already hard enough not to go for a ride. And, so chucking it off the mountain makes a lot of sense.
And you both have a tar in your backpack. One guy falls down on top of the other one. You're smoked.
So, and like Chaku said, he goes, look, I understand it was the way to do it. I just would like it not to be in the video.
Which is something we talked about.
And at the end of the day, I felt, I kept it in there. I didn't think that, I mean, it's a discussion to have. I just feel like at some point you have to have people face to face with the reality of what you're doing. You're killing, you're harvesting, you're taking the animal out. I think showing respect to an animal is in the clean and efficient kill of the animal. It's in the proper harvest of the animal, meaning you're taking every last part that you can physically pack out, that you take on the responsibility of eating it, not being wasteful with it. You taking the hide, the meat, the horns, like you're salvaging as much as you can. You know what I mean? That's the respectful part. And I felt like we showed all that in each of the series. I want people to realize that we do enjoy this meat and we eat it, and that it's part of our life. So, the practical side of sliding that thing down the mountain, I felt was important for people to just see how it's done. And so it's an interesting It's an interesting idea. That was the only person out of, I don't know, a lot of maybe 10,000 that said something about it. Maybe others were thinking it, and I appreciate the concern and the idea. I just feel like sometimes we're too worried about what the anti-hunter or the non-hunter thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point we got to provide enough, I think, being very blunt with how it goes down, but also providing context around the sort of character and sort of people that we are. And that's enough to then carry the hard parts for people to watch.
And this is to show people how to go hunt New Zealand. And that's just part of the hunt.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody. We got a great comment on iTunes, which we'll share on another show. It's been really cool. So I want to thank everybody. It helps offset the other ones like this guy. Brian Call, I'd rather drink gas and piss on a brush fire than listen to your podcast. No offense. So it's great because you get one of those and you get 500 positive ones. And it just really helps those just kind of disappear, especially when they can't spell half the words. And then it just makes it feel even better. So, I just want to thank everybody. It's been awesome. Now, before we get into the podcast, you guys can enter to win a new pair of 10x42 Santiam BX5 binoculars from Leupold. We're giving those away on September 15th. It's the 6th today. The only way to win is to be signed up for the newsletter. So go to briancall.com and sign up for the newsletter. And you might win a pair of binos. So thanks to Leupold for that. They're awesome. And then Leupold is publishing beginning, is it September 8th? This Sunday, Brent?
Sometime this weekend. No, it's Saturday or Sunday.
It's this Sunday, I think.
The 8th would be Sunday.
I went on a hunt with Cole Kramer, who is one of the funniest guys I know. He's been on the podcast a couple times. He's a stud, and he's a Kodiak guide.
The guy kills big black bears.
Kodiak brown bears.
Same thing.
And he has, I think they took the world record with archery last year. So Cole
thing
is
looks like
just
a car.
He's a cool dude, and so I went hunting with Cole, his cousin Will, and I went with Leupold's.
Who was it? You had Tim Lesser, Michael Wanakee. Was that it from Leupold?
Yep. And we all went to the island and hunted blacktails, and
in the midst of a tsunami.
Yeah, and Adam Foss was there running the camera and filming the hunt. So
that's cool.
So you can follow along on the relentless journey to Kodiak in this 5-part limited series. New episodes airing daily starting on Sunday. So basically, I believe it's going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 shows.
Cool.
So check that out. It's a fun hunt. Cole is a funny dude. We had a good time. Use the code GRITTY to get a discount at Mountain Ops. You get free shipping right now, and pretty soon we're going to throw in like a 10 or 20% discount to go with it. So be listening for that. And use the code GRITTY to get a discount on Sissy Sticks. What is it, 20% off, Brent? 15% off. So 15% off Sissy Sticks, which, by the way, I used the Sissy Sticks on this last hunt with Ben. And Brad Hunt had a pair as well, who intern Brad helped film some of the hunt. Anyway, it was really cool. And the sticks worked great. They weigh almost nothing. In fact, I didn't even include them in the gear podcast because I forgot. But they're so lightweight. I handed them over to Ben, and Ben handed me his black diamonds, and I was like, he's like, whoa, they're like 10 years old. He's like, dude, these don't even weigh anything. And so they're the carbon fiber on the top, and then they're aluminum on the very bottom. It's 3 sections. It's got a clip lock, which is way better than the twisties that always seem to fail. And so far, we have put them through the paces and beat the heck out of them, and they are still rocking. So get 15% off over there at Sissy Sticks. Get yourself some trekking poles that are great and that support dudes in the hunting industry. 15% off. Use the code GRITTY. And then finally, if you want to win a truck, you can. Corey Jacobson right now at Elk 101, they're doing the whole Bugleberry by Mountain Ops Bugleberry flavor through Elk 101 limited edition, which, by the way, has been Cousin Ben's favorite new flavor. I think it's potent myself.
Really?
Ben loves it. We were trading. I was giving him Bugleberry for Citrus Bliss. it was like I put one of each in our meals because Ben's too lazy to pack his own food, so I did it for him. And then after I got there, I was like, you know what? I really want Citrus Bliss. And Ben's like, I really want Bugleberry. And so we swapped for each other's flavors. Anyway, but for every $1 you spend at Mountain Ops buying Bugleberry, you get basically there's different ways you can be entered to win the truck. You can buy the Bugleberry from Mountain Ops. When you sign up for the Elk 101 Elk University class, and you buy the online course from Corey through Elk 101, you get 20 entries for the truck, right?
And if you use code GRITTY when purchasing,
boom, you save 20% off on Corey's course, his Elk 101 course. And I believe I think it's about $100.
You save about $20.
Yeah. So that's very cool. So use the code GRITTY when you go buy your course from Elk 101. Ben and I did not kill an elk in the opening 6 days that we were there. We were really scouting the area, kind of figuring it out. So when the rut really piles on in the last 2 weeks of the season, we got to head back up there. So we're heading back up there September 16th or 15th. And then I'm going to stay there if I have to hunt solo. It sounds like I'll probably hunt solo for a week for elk, and then maybe Ben will join me for a few days, and hopefully we can both tag out on some big bulls. We were into some really nice bulls, man.
That's cool.
We were right there in their pocket. It was so cool. Just needed another couple of days, and we had it figured out. It's kind of funny, a lot of people go out and they hunt and they get discouraged. They hunt 3 or 4 days, and man, if you've hunted elk especially long enough, it just takes persistence. You just keep going and going and going as you start to figure things out. You start to go, oh, I know what they're doing. They bed here, and then they feed here, and and you start to understand the lay of the land and shortcuts through it. You might climb straight up a bluff through blowdowns and then curse God. And then the next time you go, you're like, oh, there's a trail without a single blowdown around this bend. And you can do it in 3 times the speed. So it's like that. I think with elk hunting, we were up there. Ben and I were a little discouraged by how quiet it was and hot. And Anthony texted us, our buddy Anthony. He's like, you know what, man, stick with it. All elk hunting is persistence, and we already know that, but it's like, it does help to hear from someone. You just got to keep it. The guy who gets an elk, the guy who tags out on an over the counter public land archery tag is the guy that just doesn't quit. It just keeps going back day after day, banging their head against the wall and trying. And then all of a sudden the perfect storm of events happens. And you got an 8-yard shot at the biggest bull of your life. I mean, that's how it goes. So you just got to stick with it. It's elk season. Get out there. Do it. Can't kill them from the couch. Bam. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Hope you enjoy this podcast and stay gritty. All right. So we just got back. Cousin Ben and I just got back from a week-long elk hunt, backpacking hunt. It was a great hunt. We'll get into that on a different podcast. We haven't tagged out yet, but we were close. And we now have some good intel going into the last 2 weeks of the season. So we'll head back up there around September 15th. We've never been in this unit before. We learned a lot. But being able to backpack, just being mobile, being able to carry everything on our back and just go wherever we felt like going, spending the night, different places, waking up on ridge lines where we could glass and hear was a major advantage. And we were able to get to where we didn't see any other hunters, and we were had the elk to ourselves. Came across a ton of great bulls, and Ben was 30 yards from some great bulls twice, 30, 40 yards. I was about 15 yards from a nice bull. The country was really thick. We had Brad Hunt running the camera and calling for us, intern Brad, and it was pretty cool. But on today's podcast, I'm going to just kind of go over what I took with me on that hunt, what I backpacked with. I'm going to talk about the food, and then what I brought in the pack, and then what it weighs. So we'll try to make this pretty quick. Here's the food I brought on the trip. And, food is a personal preference. Like, you can bring whatever you like to eat. I'm going to run down what I've got. So for breakfast, I've got the Ryan Lamper Stealthy Hunter Hunt Harvest Health Mountain Mush. My wife put it together. It's cranberries. It's dried cranberries, blueberries, and strawberries that we dry ourselves. Just get the berries, throw them on the dehydrator, dehydrated those. I got pecans and almonds in there. And then the rest of it's Ryan's recipe. I've got a scoop of whey protein, Mountain Ops, whey, the Magnum. This is like, I don't know, I want to say 800 calories or 800 calories, something like that. Goes down easy, tastes good. It's freaking awesome. And then my wife makes these little peanut butter balls, which they're kind of like Ryan's hemp cookies, but not. And these have been out in the sun a little bit, traveling with me, but they're super delicious. And I take a few of these with me. I always bring a Perfect Bar, 1 or 2. And this one's the chocolate. I definitely like the peanut butter the most.
Looks like it's seen better days.
It's been in 90-degree temperatures in my backpack. So I always take a little tiny half Ziploc and put the peanut butter bar in there because they tend to, in the heat, the oils tend to leak out the packaging. I don't know why. Or when I fly with them, the altitude or whatever, but it causes the oil to just expel from but it's all natural. Like, imagine, you buy natural peanut butter and all the peanut butter separates
like
from
atoms.
Yeah. That's why one of the reasons I think you're supposed to keep these refrigerated, although they say they last a week. It says enjoy 1 week on the go. So I bring those. I just like them. This is my own jerky right here. This is elk jerky. I think you need to bring elk jerky for going elk hunting because I think it like instills in you a killer instinct. You got to eat elk to kill elk. You take on their, I don't know. So there's jerky. I like to have cheese with my jerky, and I'll bring those little Tillamook squares, and I'll bring these Baby Bell cheeses that are wax coated. This one's a white cheddar one, and then I have like the normal. Some people dig the low fat, like my wife. I think that's dumb. I just get the normal ones. And then right here we have a fruit leather, which is really a sweet potato, half a sweet potato and half of a pear. And once you dehydrate it, basically I cook my sweet potatoes in tinfoil on the Traeger, like 10 of them, chop them in half. I take half of an applesauce or a pear sauce that my wife makes. She's got like 100 jars of that. I dump a half of jar with a cup of a potato and pear mixed together and throw it on the dehydrator. And I don't know why, but these things are freaking awesome. I bring a couple of those, and basically it's a serving of a sweet potato and an apple, all natural, and it tastes good too. Here's Mountain Ops Slumber. I like the Sleepy Cocoa. I like the Sleepy Chai as well, but I like this for capping off my dinners and then going to bed, getting a good night's sleep. I use like a half a packet usually, not a full packet. A full packet tends to knock me out for like 4 or 5 hours and then leave me awake for a few hours. A half a packet is just right. I think you got to play with the dose depending on your body, but half a packet is perfect and it just takes the edge off and boom, I'm out. I sleep
half
like a rock.
Half packet puts me to sleep. Full packets, 12 hours, I'm in the dirt. Not getting up.
That does happen to some people where they wake up the next morning even after 8 hours sleep and they're groggy afterward.
But Brian, the solution's called Ignite.
Well, that brings me to Ignite. Right here I have the Bugleberry Ignite, and I bring Pedialyte packets. I also like the like Human IV electrolytes from Costco that I've been getting. I like Nun tablets, just some electrolytes and Ignite I bring along. And then here's some Citrus Bliss. Here, the half of them, I used half of a packet the other day to flavor some water that tasted like elk piss. So, but I typically bring a few sticks of a couple of Ignite a day. I maybe take 1.5 or 2 a day when I'm out there hiking if I feel like it. Otherwise, I try to stick to 1 a day, and then I try to load up on an electrolyte of some kind. And then my wife made a bunch of Rice Krispies, and I brought those. Plus, I buy these Smashmallows, which I really like.
It looks tasty.
It's a Rice Krispie, mint Rice Krispie, this one with chocolate. And Ben ate one on the first day, and he's like, bleh, like, what is wrong with you? And then on the third day, he's like, these are the bomb. I love these things. And I think if you're biting into this and you're expecting a super sugary, like homemade Rice Krispie.
Or a gas station Rice Krispie. Those things are made out of clouds and dreams.
Yeah, then that's not what this is. It's made with, it doesn't have corn syrup. It doesn't have trans fats. It doesn't have, a lot of chemicals in it and crap. It's just kind of sugar and crisps and dark chocolate. And then I like these Smashmallow marshmallows as well. I like the mint ones. They have a churro. They have
Ooh, I get behind churro.
They have it's just like cinnamon and sugar chunks on
They
the
have a
outside
lot
of
of flavors.
marshmallow. The strawberry. I don't know what it is. These are 80 calories per serving, and a serving is 4 marshmallows. So I just have one after breakfast and one after lunch and one after dinner.
They weigh nothing.
And then if I crush myself climbing a mountain, I'll eat the whole bag all at once. So typically that's just kind of, I just like it. It's a treat on the mountain. It doesn't weigh much. And then I like shot blocks. They're not for everybody, but these Cliff shot blocks, I just kind of like. I bring one a day. These have 50 milligrams of caffeine in them as well.
Ooh,
but
there you go.
Sometimes my stomach, after I exert a lot of energy and I'm pushing myself really hard, maybe I pull an all-nighter, which happens to be a lot with Ryan Lampers and Ben, cousin Ben. I end up not having appetite. It's very common for backpackers to get up there and lose their appetite, yet you really need to be eating because your body needs it. So what I find is some of this stuff really goes down easy. I like this to get quick energy. I can take this carb and boom, I'm kind of feeling better pretty quickly. Now I try to limit my intake of hard sugars to an extent, so I'm not like getting inflamed from sugar. Most of this stuff is kind of whole food oriented, and I feel like is a good carb protein fat blend. The other thing that I bring are these homemade meals is what I brought this time. I love the Heather's Choice salmon chowder. I actually really like the African peanut one as well. Years ago when I was eating Heather's Choice, it was too spicy and it like burned a hole in this, mild white guy.
Did she tone it down, or did you get more manly?
She toned it down, like the flavors. If you want to add spice, by all means, bring your agave, sriracha, whatever, blue sriracha, whatever. You bring your own peppers and spices, and you can jazz it up. But for me, it's just right. So all of our foods the spice levels have been dropped to more neutral, and then you can add to it if you want, which I think is a smart move. And I love her meals. My wife and I have been making meals just because the cost is so much cheaper to make your own meals, and then you're eating what you really like. So on this trip, I brought quinoa and chicken curry, and it's just all kind of shredded or cooked chicken and quinoa mixed together with curry sauce. I love it. Super good. It was Ben's favorite meal, and he's one of the most picky human beings on the planet. The other one that I brought, and these are, like it says, like on this bag, about 550 calories per dinner. This is 5 ounces of sweet potato, 1 cup of cauliflower rice, and 1 cup of salsa chili. And then it's got chicken. So it's basically chicken, sweet potato, and cauliflower and some rice. Cook this up in your Jetboil Minimo on simmer, and it rehydrates like a dream. These are all pre-made at home and just thrown on the dehydrator. I know exactly how it's going to taste because I eat it at home, and then there's no surprise when I get on the mountain. It's just rehydrated and ready to go. My favorite is the chicken quinoa curry. That has been my favorite. My second favorite has been these noodles, and this is a ramen chicken noodle rice thing where my wife took all these different things and she made a
homemade ramen, dude. That's sick.
Yeah. So the ramen are rice noodles, really tasty noodles. She has a bouillon, like a type of a homemade bouillon or organic bouillon thing that's just seasons it, because your typical ramen has so much MSG and chemicals and stuff in it that it's just wrong. This is cancer, and this is so good. Like the salt and the bouillon flavor is so good, and so you mix that with noodles, and that was a real favorite on a cold day in the evening, or just when your stomach isn't ready to process, more than just some noodles. It's got a little chicken and then peas and carrots. It's got these chestnuts in it and different things, which the chestnuts didn't hydrate as well, but they were still good. So I like that one as well. So that's the other meal. On the cauliflower one, it's not my favorite. It's good enough. It's a nice meal. The cauliflower salsa chicken and sweet potato. But I like to bring some Parmesan cheese, a little packet here, and add that on the top of this meal and the chicken curry. Just sprinkle it. It's real salty. I let it kind of sit on top as it cools, and it puts a cheesy crust on top, like some kind of lasagna. I felt like I ate like a king. So if I were to kind of weigh some of this stuff out, I'll just throw these meals in this bag, and then you can see what a day's of food weighs. It's going to be a little extra weight because I don't actually eat the whole bag of Smashmallows. That lasts me like the whole 5 days. But I'm just going to throw it in there anyway. 1 day's worth of food, and it's right at 2 pounds, which is pretty normal. You could do a 1.5 pounds with a little less food maybe, but typically I'm 2 pounds a day. Like I said, if we pull this out, it's not going to lose that much weight, but it'll lose some. But you can kind of figure on 2 pounds a day for food, which is nice because every day you lose a little weight. This bag right here is 4.5 ounces. So subtract that from your still a little over 1 2/3 pound a day.
That's still pretty good though.
Yeah, I think under 2 pounds a day is fine. I'm a big eater. I like my food, and so I've been as light as 1.5 pounds a day for food. But in that mix, that's a lot of calories for one day. But I tend to eat it all. But I also tend to cover some miles.